Hey everyone, it's Kirk Mastin here at Mastin Labs, and today I'm going to be showing you how to edit family sessions. We got a lot to cover today, so let's get started. One of the main considerations for editing a family session, and I'm not talking about setting one up or shooting one, but just editing, is which film or preset you want to use on the session. And it really breaks down into just a few kind of main categories. So first of all, if you're shooting a session in spring or summer and you've got that really like light, light and bright, sunny look, then Fuji Original is perfect. This is like how you get to a light and airy look fastest is with Fuji Original, and it's very forgiving on almost every kind of skin type, and it works great in a lot of different lighting situations. If you are shooting for a fall session where you've got those leaves that are changing color and they're brown or orange, then Portra Original or Portra Push is great. And that is because all of the Portra films really lean heavily into orange and red and yellow, and those colors complement the fall session. So that's what I recommend. If you're shooting inside, like in some kind of indoor shoot or documentary session, or you're in kind of subdued light or in an urban environment in general, Fuji Color Everyday is exceptional. You've got a lot of choices there, and you can just really wow your client in those conditions with Fuji Everyday. I'll be going over our three-step workflow like I do in every video, which is you want to apply the preset, adjust exposure, and adjust white balance and tint. It's really just three main steps. Anything else I show you today is purely optional, and it's just to kind of go the last 10%, to make the image even more special. But this is all you got to do. All right, let's get started. So let's start with a kind of a spring or summer vibe. We're going to go to this image first, and this is by Crystal Diaz, and this is actually the image we use as like the thumbnail for this video. This is your quintessential Southern California spring summer shoot in beautiful light. And I'm just going to use Fuji 400H. I'm going to apply that, adjust exposure, and then adjust white balance and tint. And if you can't tell already, this image is very, very, very cool. It's like glowing. It's so cool. So we're just going to crank up that white balance until we get back to something within the realm of reasonable color. Okay. So secondly, I'm going to go down to the tint slider. And tint is really where you dial in skin tone, in my opinion. Most people can see warm or cool pretty easily, but tint is the difference between an image being too magenta or too green, and that's a little bit more difficult. I find that adjustments in tint need to be very, very minor, and as such, instead of yanking it around with my mouse like I do with temperature, I just hover over tint, and then with my keyboard, I use the up and down arrows, and I just tap to make these really small adjustments. This lets you do just the tiniest of adjustments compared to a mouse where you might just move a little bit too far one way or the other. And this is kind of my little secret to getting really good tint, getting that dialed in. So looking at this image, I would say that overall it's a little bit magenta. The reason I say this is that his suit and her dress, I know that they're a blue color. They've got this blue palette going on. But between that and even looking at their hair, like up in here, in the suit, especially under here, under his chin, this little tiny strip of shadow, and you can see this right here, the side of his mouth, that's all going magenta. And it only takes a tiny, tiny adjustment to make it perfect. I mean, they would look at this and probably go, oh, that looks great. But as a photographer, it's your job to make it as perfect as you possibly can, right? So I'm going to hover over the tint slider, and using the keyboard, I'm just going to hit the down arrow like 1 or 2 times. So down, 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 maybe there. It's hard to tell because I'm not looking at the whole picture. I want you to see just their skin, but there it is. Maybe up 1 on the tint. like right there. Perfect. So I went down 2 times on the button on tint towards green. So just a very small adjustment. And here is the before and after. And that is with Fuji 400H from the Fuji Color Original Pack. It is our most popular pack of all time. So if you're looking for light and airy, this is the pack that kind of like started it all for digital. This was like the thing that just launched it. So it's a really good one to have in your toolkit if you are a wedding photographer and you want that light and airy pastel look, and especially if you shoot like in Southern California where you've got the best light in the world, or Florida. I've seen a lot of good stuff in Florida lately in similar light, or Texas. Actually, Florida, Texas, California all have this kind of beautiful light and dry environment. Well, maybe not Florida. Okay, anyway, yeah, there you go. Let's move indoors. So this image is by Christina Quisenberry. I love like real moments like this inside, these cool photojournalism type moments. And I find that you can use the Fuji Color Everyday Pack really well in this environment. So there are 3 films in this pack, 3 main films. There's Fuji Color C200, which is kind of it leans more into a warm, softer, like kind of yellow look. Then you've got Superior 400, which has very neutral shadows, a little more punch, and it's a little more red. And when I say red, it's not like a red like a bullfighter red cape, but just like kind of this nice deep red that complements a lot of skin tones. And then it's got like Acros 100, which is like the king of mood for black and white. And we love it. It's just so cool. So I'm going to say right off the bat that C200 is probably not going to be good for her skin just because of her skin type. It already has like yellow-orange undertones in it, like just in the makeup of her skin tone. And so you don't want to add more orange on top of it because it's just too much. Whereas something like Superior 400, I'll just tell you right now, is going to look really nice on her. And then Acros looks good on everything because it's just so amazing. So I'll show you them all. Okay, C200, yikes, okay, really yellow. Let me cool it down. But even cooled down, it's just not quite the right vibe for her skin. There. I mean, it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look terrible, but it's not quite right. We've got Superior 400. There we go. See? Look at that. Okay, so there is the kind of yellow forward C200. Tends to look really good on Caucasian skin, but that's and depends on other skin types, but primarily Caucasian. And then if you have Superior 400, ooh, it just looks so good. Their skin tones look really, really nice. And the shadows and everything are very neutral, and it looks perfect. That's what I like. So Superior 400, exposure, I might even bring it down, actually. I don't normally do that, but I like to about there. And temperature and tint, man, they still look about right. Yeah, maybe like right about there. And then I'm going to use lens correction. Lens correction is using data from different lens manufacturers that's inside of Lightroom to remove vignetting, so like the dark parts around the sides, and also to correct any kind of distortion in the lens. And I like to do that because I just am not a fan of vignetting. Totally artistic choice, but I like images to be like evenly lit. They feel more like a magazine type photo. And the magazines that I used to work for, that is what they wanted. They don't want something overly stylized. They want it to be clean and natural and just kind of timeless. So I like to use lens correction, but you can do whatever you want. The last thing I might do is kind of like a little tiny, end thing to do is I'd like to see a little bit more detail in her hair. I mean, I can see a little bit of highlights here, but to bring that out, I can use Shadow Soft. So there we go, Shadow Soft, and we have a final image. And it just looks clean and classic. That's what I love about it. Like, I would never deliver this to a client and then go, oh man, trends have changed and now I'm just hating my old work because it feels so dated. This is just like a magazine. Like it's never going to be dated. Like Superior 400 has been around forever, and it's great. It's based on a look that people love, so it's really good. Okay, last little thing. Let's see what it looks like with Acros. There's Acros. Increase exposure just a little bit, but that's a mood right there. That is so nice. Like let me zoom into her face. Look at the grain. Grain is so good. And just the fall off is really, really nice. So yeah, I love it. In fact, I might even add the vignetting back in. I'm going to contradict myself. There we go. Look at that. Oh, so good. So good. I feel like it's cheating because it's so easy, but whatever. I mean, gosh. And black and white is awesome. Maybe black and white is going to be the new thing this year, like finally. Okay, enough about that. Let us talk about fall, y'all. Here we are. Laura Gardner. I love this photo. I love the energy in it. I love that it's shot kind of wide. I just love it. Like everyone's like holding each other. That's so cool. It's like a circle. I love it. And then you see their house. This is so good. It's so good. Okay. I'm just gonna be like hold up and do one thing. I'm gonna fix the perspective because I can't abide by a house being kind of topsy-turvy. So let's see if we can fix that with transform. No, oh, that doesn't look good. Let's try vertical. There we go. Vertical looks pretty good. What did I just do? Okay, this is my favorite part of Lightroom. I wish I had invented it, but I didn't. It's called the transform panel. I highly recommend that you learn to use it, but it basically straightens out all your lines, and that is something that looks professional. So I do that before anything. All right, back to what I'm talking about. This is fall. It's going to look really good with like Portra Push or Portra Original. Those colors really, really lend themselves to orange and red and yellow. And they also happen to be really friendly towards Caucasian skin tones. It all just works together really nicely. So Portra pushed. Let's do Portra 400 pushed one stop. And it's very, push film is contrasty. That's just the way it is, but that's okay. We're just going to bring down the exposure. And let me see. Maybe drop the temperature. I don't know. I'm kind of digging the warmth of it. No, I think I'm going to leave it here. I'm looking at, it's funny. You know where my eyes are looking. They're not looking at the people. They're looking at this house. And I'm looking at that house and going, is that house too warm? So if I go up in warmth, I start to see the tiles and everything here go really warm. And I'm like, do I want that? But I also don't want it to be cool. So looking actually right here, I'm trying to get it neutral. And now it's neutral. And those look like nice skin tones. Is it too magenta or green? I'm going to say this is one of the very few times ever where the tint is just about exactly where it needs to be. So I'm not going to touch it. And that's it. That's your basic edit. Like I applied Portra 400 push one stop from the Portra push pack. It's one of my favorite film presets. And then I adjusted exposure and a tiny bit of temperature, but super easy edit. One other thing I could do is if you want to bring back some of the detail on this guy's head and on her face, because it's a little bit bright, you can do either highlight soft, which just brings in the highlights. So you see as I roll over it, it just kind of knocks the highlights down. Or I could do all soft, which brings in detail in the shadows and the highlights. So it's looking a little dark down here under their shoes and legs. So let's do all soft. There, that's a great final edit. Boom. Oh, one more thing. Let's add grain, just because. So 35 millimeter grain. Now we're done. That's a really nice fall edit. Really good vibes. And it's got that really nice warmth, nostalgic feeling to it. But at the same time, it's not like some crazy trendy look that, makes you feel like the photo's better than it is for like a moment. But then, fast forward 5 years after like everybody has used that look. And then you're kind of like, oh God, why did I commit to that so much? What I love about film, and the reason that Mastin Labs exists, is that we are tying our horse to a wagon of tradition with film that's like 200 years old. And these looks in our DNA, they just feel timeless, and they are. And that's really nice. So you can do this edit, you can give it to your customer and know they're not going to regret it later. No buyer's remorse. You're doing them a favor, and you don't have to like clean up your portfolio later because whatever trend you're doing is no longer in style. So that's just my opinion. You do whatever you want to do, but that is my opinion. Okay, let's just do 2 more kind of random edits here and see what we got. Let's do this one. This is very traditional. Everyone's dressed in a white shirt and jeans. It's cool. It sells. It sells. It's a really nice way to present a family, and it's classic. It kind of reminds me of like a Ralph Lauren. Oh wait, am I saying that because they're wearing Ralph Lauren? No, those are like little reindeer or something. Okay, anyway, it reminds me of that vibe. In fact, I'm going to do something you're not expecting. I'm going to do black and white from the Fuji Color Everyday pack. I'm going to do Acros and increase the exposure. And that, maybe even bring it down actually. That looks like a Ralph Lauren type of ad. It's really cool because your eye always goes to the brightest part of the picture. So they're all wearing white. I mean, it's cool. It's just like bam. And the background is dark. I like it. All right, I'm going to clone this real quick because that was too quick, too easy. Start over. We haven't done Portra Original yet, so let's dive into that. Portra Original is like just a very nice basic kind of starting base that you can use to edit from. 160 is very muted and kind of brown. Portra 400 is just kind of neutral, nice skin tones, warm. And Portra 800 is a little more contrasty, a little more saturated than Portra 400. I think this might look good with Portra 400. Okay, so I applied that. Let's do lens correction on. Boom. And then increase the temperature. Right about here. Let me see. That looks pretty good. And so where does the tint slider go? I'm looking at her hair, and it looks a little bit green on the side. It could also just be the cooler light coming from the side compared to the front, but I think it looks a little green. So I'm going to hover over tint and do like 1 or 2 taps towards magenta. So one. Yeah, 1 is good, and warm it up just a tiny bit more. That looks good. There you go. Oh, cool. It showed the black and white edit. So there you go. There's 2 edits. The black and white is from the Fuji Everyday pack with Acros. It's the super hot fire of black and white looks. And then there's the good old standby of Portra 400. Everybody loves it. It is just reliable. It's a good one. So I hope you enjoyed this editing session. Those are the basics of getting a really nice edit for families. We just did the 3-step workflow and then picked the appropriate pack for the type of shooting you're doing. So to sum it up, Fuji Original, that's great for like spring and summer, light and airy. Portra Original is good for just kind of like, everyday use with kind of a warmer background. Portra Push is really good for fall. And Fuji Color Everyday is good for those everyday moments, especially inside or in urban environments. If you enjoyed this, I highly recommend that you subscribe because we make a ton of videos. We're like got 60 plus videos to watch, and they're all amazing. So be sure to subscribe. Also, join us on Facebook in the Mastin Labs community. It doesn't matter if you own anything that we make or not. We want to help you succeed, and there's a lot of good content in there. You can also drop in your raw images, and you'll have like 18 people jump in and edit them for you and show you what is possible on your work with Mastin Labs so you can know for sure. It's awesome. It's a win-win. If you want to message us directly, we love that. Just go to m.me/Mastin Labs. Go there, start a conversation, and we will answer any questions you have. So until next time, have a great day and happy editing.